Good evening everyone and welcome to the finale of the KartSim British Esports Championship in 2025. Tonight is the night, ladies and gentlemen, where we crown our champions in both the cadet class and the senior class. And what a circuit to do it at. For round number 4 of the season, we go to Whilton Mill. Certainly a driver's favourite. And we'll see whether that transitions into pace for certain drivers later on this evening. My name is John Ratcliffe. I'm going to be guiding you through all of the action here this evening from Whilton Mill. And we're going to be kicking it off with our cadet class. Of course, we've got both the cadets and the seniors out there racing this evening. We'll start off with the cadet. So don't worry if there's a driver that you're looking to support and you don't see them out in this race. It's more than likely they're out later on this evening in the senior class. So we'll be going through a practice, a qualifying and a race here in the cadets, crowning the champion in the cadet class of 2025. Then we'll go to a short break and then we'll do it all again in the senior class later on this evening. Looking as though the weather out there at the virtual Whilton Mill is seemingly pretty fair at the moment. Hopefully it stays like that throughout the rest of the stream. Of course, last time out at round number 3, PF, it was a little bit damped, to say the least. I don't think it's going to be this evening, but you never know. If you were watching the British Kart Championships last weekend, the heavens opened with no sort of warning. Of course, here in the virtual world, we can have a little bit more control in terms of what is going to happen out there on circuit, but hopefully it stays nice and dry. As you see there, the schedule for the year, we've gone through all 3 previous championship rounds. We headed to Whilton to kick off the season earlier in April. Then it was over into Wales for GYG for round number 2. PFR, as I mentioned, round number 3 in July. It was rather damp, but we're here on the 3rd of September 2025 to round out the season here at Whilton Mill. And the racing is going to be fantastic. And this is what we are keeping our eyes on, ladies and gentlemen. The championship standings in the cadet class. Joshua Bailey leads the charge heading into tonight's event. And he has got 216 points to his name. Now, technically, mathematically, that whole top 10 screen that you can see are mathematically within a chance of taking the title. But realistically, Joshua Bailey, as long as he can get a decent performance in this, he's going to wrap up the championship in the cadet class. But we wait and see. We wait with bated breath. You know, anything can happen in KartSim Esports. Joshua's been super impressive, as you can see there, 275s next to his name. That are 2-round wins throughout this season. Alex Exicki, his closest championship rival, also with a 75 by his name as well. That was because he took the round win at GYG, and that race didn't quite go Joshua Bailey's way. But as they often say in the commentary booth, it's the days where things go wrong that decide your championship, and how you get through, how you pick yourself back up. And even in that day where it didn't quite go right for Joshua Bailey, he bagged himself a 4th place, which is definitely not something to scoff at, for sure. Fantastic consistency throughout this year for Joshua Bailey. And as we always say, consistency is what wins championships. And Joshua Bailey looking to do that this evening. Well, at the moment, we are in practice. A good long practice session for the drivers to get some laps under their belt. But of course, they've already got plenty of laps under their belt. If you've not watched a KartSim British Esports Championship round yet this season, firstly, welcome. Secondly, what have you been doing with yourself? Where have you been? It's been absolutely brilliant. Of course, those live streams are available to watch at your leisure on the KartSim YouTube channel, but don't watch it now. Wait until this stream's over and go back and enjoy that content to your heart's content. But of course, it's always rather feisty. And in this practice session, drivers just getting those laps under their belt. Like I was saying, they've already got lots under their belt because pre-qualifying has already been completed. You can't just jump straight on in the evening and say, hey guys, I'd like to race. This is a proper official series in partnership with Motorsport UK Esports. So all is sorted in the weeks prior. Drivers have set their fastest lap times, got themselves into the top 30, and that gives them the opportunity to be invited to the live stream round this evening. So drivers already having done hundreds and hundreds of laps around this Whilton Mill circuit, not only just for this evening's event, but I'm sure those of them have got plenty of laps both on the simulator and in real life of this legendary track. And Joshua Bailey, as you mentioned, leading the championship, 4th place at the moment in practice, and that's going to be the key thing I think this evening for Joshua Bailey. He doesn't need to put it all on the table. He can be relatively relaxed in here, and he needs to drive very defensively when we come to the race. I think realistically, the only thing going to stop him from getting a championship here is a DNF, a DSQ, or some sort of mechanical issue out there on circuit. Unlikely, but it can happen. So Joshua just needs to be that little bit extra careful out here this evening. Now, we have raced at Whilton before back in KartSim Esports, so that was in 2024 when we were just sort of settling into KartSim Esports, getting ourselves ready for the proper big championship here in 2025. So the KartSim Fun Cup back in 2024, the first proper live stream event we've done in the last couple of years here at KartSim Esports. And that was won in the Cadet class by Archie Loveridge and in the senior class by Zane Quecker. Now, I do believe both those drivers are out on circuit this evening, but I will double check that as we head through the rest of these sessions and we get ready for the serious sessions later on this evening. Now we'll see if my live timing works. It does not. Okay, well, that's less than ideal. Anyway, we'll keep our eye on the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, and hopefully that'll be enough assistance for me. Great to see as well, quite a few new names, even for this final round of the championship. Sheldon Srikantan, I can see there in 7th place. 8th place as well for Philipson. Another name I've not seen out in KartSim Esports so far this year. I will go back to my trusty entry list, and we can probably find out who we do have out on circuit. Of course, this Cadet class, all drivers ranging between 8 and 12 years of age this evening. And that driver was Alfie Philipson, so welcome Alfie, thank you very much for joining us this evening. But also a good few names that we do recognise from throughout the season in KartSim Esports as well, and you can see a few of those jumping to the top of the timing sheets. Santiago Barros had that fastest time for mere moments. It was immediately taken by Joey Swan, and now Alex Exicki steals away that fastest lap so far in this one, a 48.485, the time to beat. Now, Alex did beat that time on his pre-qualifying, and so did quite a few drivers, to be fair. I think, yeah, Joey Swan and Alex Exicki, two of your fastest drivers in pre-qualifying. So was Joshua Bailey, all three of those in the 48.3s. So was Marjoris Kvekis. I do believe Marjoris should be racing this evening. Again, a new name to KartSim Esports this evening, so welcome Marjoris. I do believe that was it for drivers in the 48.3 zone. Yes, it was, in terms of pre-qualifying. So some of the names that maybe we'd be expecting, a couple of new names getting in and amongst it as well. But David Hjorns in this session anyway jumps up to P3 for the moment. But not to worry, of course these times really not meaning anything. Gives us a little taster of what is to come later on this evening once we do get into qualifying. This practice session then. Practice session continuing. And we'll see who is able to get to the sharp end by the end of it. 15 minutes of practice, that'll be followed by 10 minutes of qualifying, and then on to our 12-lap race. Not the longest lap here at Whilton Mill, equally not the shortest, so we should get through proceedings relatively swiftly here. So indeed, if you are waiting for a driver in the senior class, don't go anywhere. It's not going to be too long until they are out on circuit. You'll be treated to some fantastic action here in the Cadet class. But of course, drivers fighting for the championship this evening. And we're given a main focus, of course, on who is going to take the championship overall. But there are prizes for the top 3 in each of the championship. The same prizes for our Cadet drivers as well as our senior drivers. And I'll quickly run you through that. So our victor in the championship at the end of this evening will bag themselves a full day of professional simulator coaching here at KartSim HQ based in Silverstone, along with a test day at Whilton Mill in a competition kart with professional coaching, kart and engine hire, tyres and track fees all included in that. So a totally free day of simulator coaching and a totally free day of testing at Whilton Mill in KartSim's cars, which are fantastic. The runner-up, second place in the championship, will bag themselves a next level racing go-kart plus rig with a monitor mount, premium floor mat, all offered by Next Level Racing, plus the KartSim Esports wheels and pedals. And in third place in the championship will bag themselves a choice of the KartSim Pro software or a free half-day professional simulator coaching session at KartSim HQ at Silverstone. So plenty of prizes on offer. This is a championship that's been going from strength to strength, and the backing of all the guys here at KartSim and of course Motorsport UK Esports as well, really making it a serious championship through 2025. And like I say, it's only gone from strength to strength, and it's been fantastic to be involved throughout this year. And I have heard murmurings that there are plenty of plans going into 2026 of all sorts of different championships. So keep your eyes peeled if you're watching and you think, I didn't know about this, I want to get involved. Well, you certainly can. Keep your ear to the ground on the KartSim socials for any future announcements of races that you can get involved with. Of course, for the KartSim British Esports Championship, you do have to own the KartSim Pro UK software. That can all be purchased over on the KartSim website, and I imagine it will be the same if there are UK, European rounds or whatnot next year. There's of course the KartSim EU software as well, and the KartSim North American software. Plenty of different opportunities for high-level esports action on the KartSim software, no matter where in the world you are. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that. We continue on then. Joshua Bailey, now your fastest driver out there on circuit by 0.5 of a second. It has been Bailey versus Lexicki really throughout this year, and that is continuing on here into the final round of the championship. 33 points separates the two of them at the sharp end of the order, and that was really due to the issues earlier on in the season for Alex Lexicki. I mean, now I say that, yes, of course, Lexicki was P6 at round number 1, P1 at round number 2, and then where did he end up finishing in round number 3? That was it. Round 3 was really scuppered Alex Lexicki. P10 for less than ideal versus Joshua Bailey's 2 first positions and a 4th place. Super consistent throughout this year. A little bit of a hiccup at GYG, but still a very decent performance there, just off of the podium. Great to see. And Alex is going to be the fight to Joshua here today. I do not doubt that at all. But Joshua still sitting pretty there at the top of the championship. And at the moment, anyway, here in practice, at the top of the timing screens as well. And let's see how they continue on into the competitive sessions, which will be starting in only a few moments' time. About 30 seconds left to go then in practice, as we continue to press on. Chester Fawkes as well joining us this evening. Good to see him ahead, making that cheeky move up at Christmas on Isaac Morgan. He's currently P9 as he has a bit of an off-track excursion there, heading out of Christmas and through Boxing Day. Big send down the inside of Ashby there for Joshua Bailey, as he's already top of the timing screens. He's getting his racecraft in as well, ready for racing action later on this evening. As we mentioned, we've got Joshua Bailey, Alex Lexicki, Joey Swan, David Hjorn, Santiago Barros. We've got Mr. Becker, Mr. Strikanton, Hugo McCluskey, Phillipson, Chester Fawkes in 10th. Loads of different drivers out there this evening. It's great to see so many drivers returning there with Mason Becker, Santiago Barros. Lexicki dives to the grass there on the outside. Good final lap there from Shaylan Strikanton. Shaylan, first time we've seen them out on circuit in KartSim British Esports Championship this year. Well, Shaylan within about 1/4 of a second there as we come to the end of the session. And I will say, if it's your first time watching KartSim Esports, those gaps, they're not unusual. They really aren't. 1/10 of a second pretty much separating the top 6 there, and less than half a second separating the top 10. That is ridiculous. Anson Gao as well. Welcome, Anson. They're in 10th place. Let's run you through the order then from practice. Joshua Bailey, your fastest driver out there on circuit. Alex Lexicki only 0.5 behind him. Then followed by Shaylan Strikanton in 3rd, Joey Swan in 4th, David Hjorns in 5th, Santiago Barros in 6th, Mason Becker 7th, Hugo McCluskey, Alfie Phillipson, and Anson Gao there rounding out the top 10 in practice. Anyway, like we say, time's not really mattering too much. But of course, you want the bragging rights in the first session of the evening. So as we press on then towards our competitive sessions, qualifying will be beginning in only a moment's time. And then just after that, it'll be straight on to racing action as well, where all those points are decided. And we always say points beat prizes. Well, that is never more true than this evening, with those 3 prizes on offer for our top 3 in the championship once all is said and done. There you see then, floodgates open. It's it's like Noah's Ark really, everything suddenly flooding in and drivers flooding out onto the black stuff as we kick off our 10 minutes of qualifying. Like we say, not the longest lap in the world, about 48-52nd lap time, so drivers should really be getting in with an out lap as well, maybe 10 laps total in this qualifying session, so plenty of time to try and get some times on the board. And as always, a lot of tactics coming into play as well. Drivers have got to work out whether they want a bit of fresh air on circuit, whether they can hook onto the back of someone that they know is pretty quick. There's not a huge amount of straights here at Whilton Mill to use that toe, but of course you've got the start-finish straight through Oblivion and Crook and up through Fine Lady. That's always a good place to use that slipstream, and then down that back straight as well into the boot. And of course, about one and a half years ago now, it doesn't feel like it, about a year and a half ago, Whilton Mill changed that section, that final section of corners. Of course, it was always that flat-out right-hander, which always was a bit sketchy, changing it to have that new little chicane, and that's of course here in the KartSim Pro UK software as well. So drivers taking to the track as if it was real life. That's exactly what the KartSim software is useful for, to get drivers testing from the comfort of their own home, and able to transition that knowledge learned in the virtual world into their real life racing as well. And that's often why you will see a lot of the drivers that you would see at the front in real life often end up making their way to the sharp end in virtual form as well. That was close there at the final corner. My goodness, I got a bit sidetracked there. 2 drivers facing the wrong direction there through the new couple of sections of corners. As I was saying, those skills really transitioning both between the virtual world and real life. Well, straight out the gates then, Santiago Barros has put the time down, 48.647. He is currently your fastest driver out there on circuit, and Santiago really has been going from strength to strength. The first couple of races, I don't think you'll mind me saying, he was a little bit argy-bargy out there on circuit, but his pace has really come through, and he can fight at the front without needing to get the elbows out so much. He's got the pace to stay involved, and at the moment, he's sitting on pole position. Still 7.5 minutes left to go in this one for things to be decided. I can't imagine that leaderboard is going to stay the same through the rest of this. Well, Zicki and Bailey, his closest challengers at the moment. One Max Haywood there, who was close near the top end, but again, those times continuing to tumble as drivers set more and more laps. It's now your championship leader, Joshua Bailey, who takes the fastest lap of the session so far, 48.611, now set by Joshua. Santiago Barros now in second, Joey Swan third, Alex Zicki in fourth place, and Philipson, Srikanton, Becker, Loveridge, Hayward and Gow, your top 10 for the moment. But already a purple sector 1, courtesy of Joshua Bailey. He's slightly stuck in behind William Robinson at the moment. Will he think about the move? He will go for the inside line. A little bit of a hip check there on William Robinson as he makes the space available for himself, and that was maybe a little bit too aggressive there for the final couple of corners from Mason Becker, I think that was. He does set another purple time then, 48.495, now the time to beat, and it is beaten immediately by Joey Swan. Joey Swan, 48.423, now fastest time set so far in this one. And again, with that circuit being pretty busy, it's all dear. Mason Becker getting to the side of another driver again. That's William Robinson this time as they head down into Ashby. But like I said, track is has quite a few karts out on it, so finding a bit of space is easier said than done. So this one looking to do that at the moment though, and he'll be pretty happy to see that the driver he's chasing is that second place driver at the moment of Joshua Bailey. So shouldn't be catching him too quick, should at least give him a lap or two to get some times in for Joey. Bailey rounds the final corner though. Can he put in a faster time? Oh yes he can. 48.379 on the time to beat Joey Swan. Just less than half a tenth behind. Couldn't go faster on that lap. 3 orange sectors, I think that is not surprising considering all the traffic he had to meander around throughout that lap. But we are pretty much at half distance here in terms of qualifying. This lap might be scuppered. Well, it was already an orange first sector for Joshua Bailey, so I don't think you'll mind too much. He's there in behind Isaac Morgan and Archie Loveridge. Of course, as I mentioned, Archie Last time we were here at Whilton Mill, Archie was your race winner in the Cadet class. But since that Fun Cup round, KartSim Esports has got a lot more competitive. And Archie, at that point, was absolutely dominating. And now, still very much within the mix. Like I say, the gaps are so close out there that Archie just not quite able to get up to the lofty heights that he once was at. He's still got a few tenths to find in this one to get himself up a few more grid positions. They're in 10th place at the moment. Like I say, still not something to scoff at. A very impressive time from Archie Loveridge. And those times still so close amongst the field out there at Whilton Mill. Of course, if you hadn't noticed already, we're using the international layout here on the KartSim simulation software, not the Zulu layout. Of course, the international one used for all owner driving racing. But let me know in the live chat, what's your personal favourite? I've raced on both, courtesy of Club 100, because they often do use the Zulu layout. I'm not actually sure which is my preferred layout, to be honest. I think they both have their certain little quirks and certain positives and negatives for them. So there you go then, new fastest lap of the session, courtesy of Mason Becker. I mean, it was all argy-bargy for Mason in the first 5 minutes of this session, but he seems to have got it all together, and he has put together a fantastic lap. 48.364, puts himself 0.015 ahead of Joshua Bailey. There's still those top four, Becker, Bailey, Swan and Lexicki. Your first two rows still split by only just over a tenth of a second. Fantastic talent on show here at the KartSim British Esports Championship in 2025. Bailey comes across the line, can't go any faster this time. There was a purple sector 3 though, still more time to be found there for Joshua Bailey. But with only 3 minutes to go, can he find it? That is the question on everyone's minds. What can he do here as he heads on through? Can he start this final round as he means to go on and look to wrap up the championship with a victory here at round number 4? Lexicki has put in a new personal best lap time on the last lap. That gap now very much less than a tenth of a second. 3/4 of a tenth now separating our top four. I mean, Formula One's been pretty close this year, but it's not this close in qualifying. Ridiculous between our drivers out there. We look back to Mason Becker and Joey Swan, first and third on the grid at the moment. They're coming up to a little bit of traffic though as they head onto a new lap of this race, even this qualifying session. And now it's about only 1/4 of a second now separates our top 10 as new fastest lap for Alex Lexicki. He's found some space, he's found some time, and currently he's found pole position. New drivers there kicking up the dirt out of Christmas Corner and through, I think unofficially titled Boxing Day. Got the Boxing Day little left-hander kink that I do believe is officially unnamed, but all us commentators call it Boxing Day. Then through Inkermans and down into Ashby. Such a tricky downhill braking zone, that one, not only in real life but here on the KartSim simulation software as well. Particularly when you're out and it gets a little bit damp. It can certainly catch you out with how early you do have to brake for that corner. And let's see as well, that can be a bit of an issue on the first lap of proceedings when we get into the race. If one driver outbrakes themselves, suddenly it's like a bowling alley and takes all of the other car pins with him as they head to the exit off of Ashby. But just as we said, Lexicki was top. Loveridge has gone quicker. What a lap from Archie Loveridge, and Joshua Bailey has found a heap of time. Down into the 48.1s. That is crazy pace from Joshua Bailey. Fantastic. He is bringing the heat. You've got there Archie Loveridge, like I mentioned, your victor last time out here at Whilton Mill, about a year or so ago now. He has found some great pace. I said he just needed to find a little bit more. He's there in with a shout, and he must be listening to me because he's only gone and found it. Into the last 40 seconds then. This is the crunch point of the season as we try and set the grid here for the final round in the Cadet class. Last race of the year here. Drivers don't want to leave anything on the table. You don't want to go, well, I was going to say go home. Drivers already are at home more than likely on their simulators, but you don't want to get off the simulator thinking, oh, if only I'd just done this, if only this had happened, if only this and that and this and that. Just go for it. It's the final round of the season. Don't leave anything on the table, as I say. 10 seconds left to go here in Cadet qualifying I don't think Bailey or Loveridge are going to see another lap here. This will be their last lap of the session. And who is going to grab pole position here in the Cadets? Will it be an improvement for Bailey or Loveridge as they cross the line? It's an improvement for Loveridge, but not enough to take pole position. Here comes Alex Lixicki, and he steals it on the last lap. Alex Lixicki to pole position here. A 48.104 sneaks in on the last time of asking. Does Alex Lixicki, can anyone challenge that formidable time at the top of the timing sheets? Rory Hamilton can't go any faster on that last lap. Are there any drivers to complete this final lap? We're looking at Joey Swan, but he's not going any faster. And I think that might just be it then. I do think all drivers have now seen the checkered flag. And as they peel back into the pit lane, oh my goodness, it's your two championship contenders at the sharp end on the front row of the grid. Alex Lixicki takes pole position at round 4 of the KartSim British Esports Championship in partnership with Motorsport UK Esports here at Whilton Mill. Joshua Bailey lines up alongside him with Archie Loveridge and Mason Becker on row number 2. Joey Swan and Hugo McCluskey are on row 3, with Shaylen Sirkansen and Rory Hamilton on row 4. David Hjorns and Santiago Barros round out the top 10 there on row number 5. They'll be followed by Alfie Phillipson and Sawyer Henderson on row 6. Anson Gow and William Robinson are on row 7. Max Hayward and Chester Forbes on row 8, with Alexander Adams and Reese Peters on row 9. Then it's Oliver Klinnefelter and Isaac Morgan there on row number 10. They round out the top 20, and then it's Hakeem Bat there rounding up the grid of 21 drivers total. Well, what an exciting qualifying session that was, grabbing it at the last possible opportunity there for Alex Lixicki. But still, that was all he could do there, was put it on pole position. He'll just be frustrated that Joshua Bailey is right alongside him on that front row. Here we go then. Drivers getting ready to go. Of course, usually I rely on my ears to hear the lights about to go out, but sadly I'm not going to any audio here for today, so I'm going to sort of have to wait and guess when we're going to start this race, but your guess is as good as mine. Actually, your guess is probably better than mine, because I think you can hear on the live stream, so we'll just keep an eye out and wait for the drivers to put the pedal to the metal here for 12 laps of racing action at Whilton Mill to decide the championship here in the cadet class. Like I was saying earlier, Joshua Bailey just needs a calm race here, needs to keep it on the black stuff, just get a decent result. It's only really, I think, a DNF, DSQ, that type of thing that will gain him no points, that will open the opportunity to the likes of Lixicki, McCluskey, McAllister, Swan, Henderson, Barros, Voronovic, Robinson, Hjorns are all potentially in the mix here. I know a couple of those names I don't think are racing here this evening, but certainly at least 6 or 7 of those on circuit still in with a mathematical chance at the championship. Well, here we go then. Nerves rising. We wait for those engine notes to rise as well. And you'll see the lights go out. And then we'll be racing for 12 laps here at Whilton Mill. Alex Lixicki with a totally clear track ahead of him. Same for Joshua Bailey alongside him though. We'll wait. Who gets the best start for one? And really, Joshua Bailey here on the right-hand side of the circuit might actually be at an advantage here if Lixicki can't close the door, because of course you do go into a left-hander of Oblivion initially, but then into Crook, of course a right-hander. If Bailey can keep the nose in there, force himself a bit of space, he can then chuck Lixicki wide. Lights are on, engine notes rise, we're racing at Whilton Mill for the final round of the season here in the Cadets, and just as I predicted, it looks as though Bailey tries to force his way through, but no, Lixicki closes the door absolutely beautifully, and the drivers fly up to Christmas corner for the first time. Loadston trying to hold that inside line, Bailey on the inside, and oh, already an incident. Archie Loveridge nearly spun round, and 5 or 6 drivers collecting in behind. Lixicki and Bailey have already broken free. Rory Hamilton is up into third place with Peters following him through. What a start for him, as it is chaos in behind down into Ashby. Drivers off left, right and centre. And Archie Loveridge, after a brilliant qualifying performance, it's all gone wrong on the first lap for Archie Loveridge. He's been knocked around left, right and centre, and Archie Loveridge trots down the order. That is gutting for Archie. But end of lap number 1 then. Alex Lixicki still leads the way, followed by Joshua Bailey in second place. Rory Hamilton there in third, You can see William Robinson is officially down in 21st place. That means that he has cut the corner at some point. He's not gone through the timing beams as he should. So although he's racing there, he thinks for 4th place, he's not involved. He will be dropped to the back at the end of this. He has missed a lap of racing here. So that's going to be a bit of an issue as well. If he gets involved and something happens between him and other drivers, they might feel a bit aggrieved. Anyway, we'll wait and see how it all plays out for the rest of this. Through lap number 2 we go then, and Bailey is all over the rear axle of Alex Niksicki, looking for it down into the boot, but at the moment staying in behind, staying in the wheel tracks, and just looking to put a gap in to the rest of the field. They already are starting to scamper off. A 2-second gap after lap number 2 between themselves and Rory Hamilton. Like I mentioned, Bailey just needs to bring this one home. Even a 2nd place is absolutely fine. And of course, he's a racing driver. He wants to win the race. Of course he does, especially in the last race of the season here in the KartSim British Esports Championship. Now, where will he go for it? We've seen this so many times in KartSim Esports. We'll keep an eye on them, but we'll look back to some battles going on as well. That battle for 4th place really hotting up, and William Robinson does get shoved off onto the grass. Through there, 4th place is Phillipson, still side by side with Barros. Of course, William not technically involved in this battle, but he's getting involved anyway. Reese Peters there, finding the green stuff on the outside as he went side by side with Joey Swan. I think he's dropped now behind Loveridge. Yes, he has. Archie Loveridge is back up into 9th place after that really challenging first lap. Who was that in the wall on the entrance? Someone's parked it up there on the old part of the circuit there through sector number 3. On to lap number 4 we go though. Here we still watch that battle for 6th place. Santiago Barros, Hugo McCluskey and Joey Swan there battling over 6th place. William Robinson defending that inside line. As now up and under round the outside. Nice move for Barros. Off in the background goes McCluskey. Is that McCluskey and Swan getting together? Or yes, it was. It was McCluskey and Swan coming to blows there, and both heading off wide and dropping down a few positions. I think they have managed to rejoin. And there you can see, look, because Joey Swan went wide and didn't rejoin the circuit at the place he went off, that's dropped him a lap down. He's not gone through the detection zone. He's dropped back further again. So these issues, drivers, you've got to be rejoining where you went off. If you just cut on through onto the next corner, maybe like you would in real life, the game is going to say, no. The simulation software going to be like, no, mate, you're going back a lap. Unlucky. Right, we look back to the top 2 then. They're a good 2.5 seconds clear now of Rory Hamilton in 3rd place. And like I say, Joshua Bailey, I think he's going to be wanting to get past, but I don't think he's going to do anything silly to do that. He'll wait in behind. If the opportunity presents himself, then he's going to go for it. But we will wait and see. I can hear as well, I've seen in the live chat asking if my commentary can be turned up. I can see on my end that it's clipping ever so slightly, so I don't think I can turn it up my end, but hopefully Josh can hear me, and Josh will turn it up his end. And hopefully you'll be able to hear me a little bit better then as we head through the second part of the race. Already into lap number 6 then. And there is William Robinson going for a wild ride there through the final corner, up and over and into the barriers. 2x2 round the final corner. Very rarely works. And that was seen there by a couple of the drivers getting a bit too close to comfort as well. Covering the inside line a bit late there was Santiago Barros. Loveridge tries to go back to the outside. That's not going to work. And Barros has to go through on the grass and will rejoin. But did Loveridge manage to get past? We'll have a look back in a few moments' time. Rory Hamilton still there, about 2.3 seconds behind these top 2. Really, he's going to have quite a quiet race here if it stays like this at the sharp end of the order, with Bailey just following Niksicki through. But that's all he needs to do. He only needs to grab this point for 2nd place. There's only about 3 points different, I think, between 1st and 2nd. Yeah, 75 points for the race winner, 72 for 2nd place. And like I mentioned, as we go into this race, there is a 33-point gap between these two in the championship, going the way of Joshua Bailey. He's keeping it nice and relaxed out there. So I think probably we can look back to some other battles further back. I'm not sure anything's going to happen here between these two. Equally, I am also ready to eat my words as well between Niksicki and Bailey, because they've had some great battles in the past and they've come to blows as well. Phillipson's getting it all sideways on the grass, up and over the bumps, round he goes. It has been a great start to this race for Alfie Phillipson, but it all undoes itself there through sector number 2. And he finds the very bumpy bit of grass there on the outside of the exit of Ashby. We jump on board here with Santiago Barros as he flies around the last couple of corners, and he goes on to lap number 8 of this race. You can see how committed they are through Oblivion and Crook, darting through Fine Lady and up towards Christmas Corner, an uphill braking zone. You can go so late on the brakes there, up into Christmas Corner. And now we hop over to Joshua Bailey here, down through sector number 2. Through the middle part of the circuit, through the exit of Osiers and down into the boot. Such a tricky section of corners to get right. You can lose so much time through here, but these two have been nose to tail since the start of this race. Lixicki still the one leading Bailey. We've got some support in the chat as well from Georgina Mills saying, go Archie. Archie Loveridge still there in 6th place at the moment. He's done a great job of battling his way back through the pack after that very difficult lap 1. And you never see Archie Loveridge go down without a fight. He is a fantastic young racer. He's got himself back to a good position at the moment anyway. But look at the gaps from 4th place backwards. It's 2.5 back to Hamilton. It's then 10 seconds back to David Hjorns in 4th place. And that was just courtesy of all of that wheel banging side-pod to side-pod contact on the first lap. Made it a little bit challenging for drivers to pick their way through. And that has thus meant we've got a bit of a chasm that has formed between our podium finishes and 4th place and beyond. But still, Hjorns, Barros, Loveridge, McCluskey, Henderson, Fawkes, Peters, all still pretty close on circuit. Only about 10 seconds separating 4th to 10th at the moment. And here we watch that battle for 8th place. Sawyer Henderson and Chester Fawkes going at it. As there's Alfie Phillipson in the wall. So Alfie, we saw it went a little bit wrong a couple of laps ago. Now he's gone straight on at the final corner. And doesn't look like he's going anywhere particularly quickly. If my memory serves me correctly, he's not able to get it out of that barrier because there's no reverse gear. Down the inside at Christmas Corner goes Chester Fawkes. Attempt at the up and under there from Sawyer Henderson, but he taps the rear of Chester's car, sends him wide off onto the grass, and Chester has to rejoin behind him. We'll see what the stewards think of that one, but either way, they stay as they were for now. I'll leave those sort of decisions to people much smarter than myself. Back down the inside goes Chester Fawkes, and this time it's the turn of Sawyer Henderson to take to the grass, but yet again he rejoins, this time not ahead of Chester Fawkes. Chester Fawkes grabs 8th place away there as the leaders already heading on to the penultimate lap of this race. We've gone through this thick and fast here at Whilton Mill. And only 2 more laps to go to decide the Cadet Championship. And it's looking good at the moment for Joshua Bailey. I don't want to commentator's curse him. That's the last thing I want to do, but it's looking good at the moment. We jump forward to Hugo McCluskey. He's chasing down Archie Loveridge at the moment. And they're not too far away from David Hjorns and Santiago Barros. Those two pretty much nose to tail as we head through here towards the final lap. Hjorns and Barros getting a bit of a squabble. Loveridge and McCluskey are going to be right back on with them. Only a couple of seconds back then as we head on to the final lap of this race. Alex Lixicki has led it from pole so far. Unchallenged for Joshua Bailey until now. Down the inside goes Joshua Bailey. Aggressive move up at Christmas Corner, and he's got it done. Joshua Bailey takes the lead of the race on the final lap, and I think that little side pod contact there in the middle of the corner, forcing Lixicki wide, has just lost him enough time for Bailey to scamper off here on the final lap and take victory at the final time of asking. Lixicki and Bailey, the only 2 drivers and cadets this season to take an outright win. It's 2 for Bailey, it's 1 for Lixicki. Let's make it 3 for Bailey. Let's make it the championship for Joshua Bailey. He wins at Whilton Mill, and Joshua Bailey takes the British Esports Championship here on KartSim in the cadet class. Lixicki joins him on the podium along with Rory Hamilton. Here come 4th and 5th places. There's more squabbling round the final corner. Hjorns gets knocked wide. Loveridge gains 4th place with Barros in 5th, McCluskey in 6th, and Hjorns in 7th, I was going to say, but I think someone's left the session there. I think that's why I might have got confused there with the timing on the left-hand side of your screen. Either way, behind them, Chester Fawkes, and we got Mr. Henderson, Peters, and Klinefelter as well. Your top 10 at least on the screens for the moment. What a way to end the season then in the cadets. But as I thought would happen, Bailey knew he didn't have to do anything crazy, sat behind for the entirety of that race, and on the last lap, went for that cheeky move. So final round of the season then in the cadets goes the way of Joshua Bailey. That gives him 3 wins out of 4 and the championship here in the cadet class. Alex Igsicki and Rory Hamilton join him on the podium. Rory doing a good job to pick his way through the incidents on the first lap. Got himself in third, and he stayed there for the rest of the race. Big shout out to Archie Lovebridge. Not the ideal first lap for him, but what a battle back through to fourth place, followed by Santiago Barros, Hugo McCluskey, David Hjorns, Chester Fawkes, Sawyer Henderson, and Reese Peters there, rounding out the top 10. They were followed by Oliver Klinefelter, then Anson Gao, Alexander Adams, Shaylen Serkanton, Isaac Morgan, Joey Swan, William Robinson, Max Hayward, Hakeem Batt, and Mason Becker. A DNF, sadly, for Mason Becker. And I think potentially there was one more driver there in 21st place. Nope, that's it. I think they must have accidentally left the session a little bit too early. Well, there we go then. The cadet class, as exciting as ever. But well done to Joshua Bailey. He takes the championship in 2025. And don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. If you thought that was exciting, we've still got the seniors left to come later on this evening. We're going to go to a short break here at KartSim HQ. And we'll be back in a few moments' time to crescendo to the climax of the championship in the senior class as well. We'll see you in a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the finale of the KartSim British Esports Championship in 2025 in partnership with Motorsport UK Esports. We've crowned one champion already this evening. Why not crown another? We move on to the senior class, and drivers already heading out for the practice session then. Of course, still here at Whilton Mill, still very much fair weather out there on circuits and nice temperatures and some nice conditions for the drivers to head round the circuit this evening. My name is still, funny enough, John Ratcliffe, and I'm still guiding you through all the action here in the senior class. Of course, just like the cadets, we've already had 3 rounds of the championship so far, back at Bolton to kick off the season in April. Then we went to GYG in June, PFI in July, and now we're here in September at Whilton Mill to finalise the season, crown the champion here in the senior class. And once again, similarly to the cadet class, it's looking pretty for the driver in the lead of the championship. Teddy Cooper, with 2 round wins under his belt, sits at the top of the order there on 219 points. He's 21 points clear of Warwick Milam, so a bit of a closer gap at the sharp end. But in terms of points across the running order of the championship, only the top 5 in mathematical contention here for the championship. And the main one about that is, how is Zane Quecker in mathematical contention for the championship when he missed round number 1? 0 points to his name from round 1, gets a round win on his return at round 2, and then has to settle for second place at round 3 as he was pipped to the flag by Teddy Cooper. But similarly to what we saw from Joshua Bailey there in the cadets, if Teddy can just have a relaxed race, get it to the checkered flag in a good position, he's looking pretty good here to take the championship in 2025, take the spoils, but also take some prizes home for him as well. It's nice and close up at the sharp end, particularly we're going to be watching for Warwick Milam and Benjamin Hamilton, only separated by 3 points going into today's racing. We say consistency makes championships, but you can't get much more consistent than Warwick Milam. 3 rounds of 66 points there on the board for Warwick Milam, but he'll be hoping for a few more this evening. It's just never quite gone his way for Warwick, and he's never quite got on the podium. 3 fourth places. 3 fourth places is less than ideal. As we head on through then, I'm actually going to note that down because that's really helpful. 69 points for 3rd place and 66 for 4th place. So points dropping, of course, that then goes all the way down to 1 point for 30th place once all is said and done. But not too much to worry about in terms of that. I'll try and keep you updated as we head through this session. Of course, once again, we've got practice, then qualifying, then the race. We kick it off with that 15 minutes of practice. The drivers head back out on circuit to get a few more laps under their belt, and we sort of get a relative idea of what the running order is going to be here at Whilton Mill in the senior class. 15 minutes of practice, followed by 10 minutes of qualifying, and then onto a 12-lap race to cap off the season here in the KartSim British Esports Championship in partnership with Motorsport UK Esports. Just as I was saying in the cadets, if you're watching at home and you like what you see, you want to get involved in future, head over to the KartSim website. You can find all the details in future and keep your ear on the ground. Or the KartSim socials, that'll be where you'll find all the information, any sort of announcements in terms of future series as we head towards 2026. But of course, for the British Esports Championship, you did have to have the Pro UK software, and like I mentioned earlier, that'll be the same if there's an EU Championship, North American Championships. There's specific softwares for each of those which you will need to purchase to get involved. At the moment, Warwick Milam setting the pace out there. Zane Quecker about 1.5 tenths off of his time, with Teddy Cooper there in 3rd place. Could this be the day where we finally see Warwick Milam getting himself on the podium? He's always there and thereabouts, like we say. 3 fourth places under his belt, which has got to be gutting for him, not quite getting on the podium. But he's still right there in and amongst the championship, of course, like we were saying. Warwick, 2nd place in the championship. 3 points separating him and Benjamin Hamilton, and then it is 45 back to James Vout in 4th place. And then a further, it's pretty close behind them, 3 points back to Quecker, then a further 9 back to Blake Southern, and then a further 15 back to Tancho Banda in 7th place in the championship at the moment. Like I mentioned though, mathematically all of those top 5 still in with a chance for the championship. But very much James Whilton, Zane Quecker, the outside shots at this one. It's between Teddy Cooper, Warwick Minor and Benjamin Hamilton, really to battle it out over the top three of the championship here of who takes what prizes once all is said and done. But Teddy Cooper just needing a relaxed race, needing to put some good points on the board to try and wrap up this championship. A 21-point lead in the championship would lead me to believe that it's probably going to be, if he gets in the top 10, he should wrap this one up. But never say never in KartSim Esports. We wait with bated breath to see how that all plays out once we get into competitive sessions later on this evening. And as we say, those top three battling over the bragging rights of top three in the championship. But not only that, of course, lots of prizes on offer courtesy of the guys here at KartSim as well. Your winner in the championship will bag themselves a full day of professional simulator coaching at KartSim HQ here at Silverstone, along with a test day at Whilton Mill in a competition kart with professional coaching, kart and engine hire, and tyres and track fees all included in that. Second place runner-up in the championship will get themselves a Next Level Racing Go-Kart Plus rig with a monitor mount, a premium floor mat offered by Next Level Racing, and the KartSim Esports wheels and pedals. And then third place is going to get themselves a choice of either the KartSim Pro software or a free half-day professional simulator coaching session here at KartSim HQ. A lot still to play for. I've just seen as well in the chat there, Oliver Bridge, are there any championships that you can compete in with the regular £40 software? Not officially at the moment, Oliver, not any official championships. However, there has been a one-off event this year. Of course, we had the Tillotson T4 Virtual Nations Cup about a month or two ago, and the prize for that was getting a real ticket to the real-life Tillotson T4 Nations Cup in around a month's time. That's in the first week of October over in Valencia, Spain, as that was a beautiful 360 there from Warwick Milam, just showing his prowess out there on circuit. Learn a lot from Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, I think. But like I was saying, Oliver, there are definitely events to get involved with. Just keep your eye out for any announcements. That Tillotson T4 Virtual Nations Cup was all using the esports software, so you can still get involved with events. Just watch out for those. I do think, though, these official championships are more than likely going to be with the different pro softwares that you need to purchase. Well, over halfway through this practice session, then it is still Warwick Milam with the fastest time out there. Only about half a tenth, just less than half a tenth clear at the moment of Zane Quecker, and Teddy Cooper there rounding out the top three in terms of the timing sheets in this practice session. And whereabouts is Benjamin Hamilton? He's down in 8th place at the moment, just over 6/10 behind that fastest lap set by Warwick Milam. So Benjamin Hamilton, well, I'm hoping at least that he's just maybe keeping a bit in the locker at the moment, not quite putting it all out on circuit, as Hamilton will need a better performance than that here to jump up any higher than his third place in the championship that he comes into the round in possession of. Great to see again so many returning drivers for this final round of the season here in the KartSim British Esports Championship in partnership with Motorsport UK Esports, but also lots of new names as well, which is fantastic to see. Trying to pick some of them out. Caelan Keith, I don't think we've had Caelan so far this season. Now, George Fountain, I want to say George has raced with us before. Yes, he was out in round number 1, got a P9 at round number 1, did George. I don't think he was with us at round 2. No, he wasn't. And round 3, he did rejoin us at round 3. I got a P5 out there. So George has got some decent results throughout this season. And currently, not set a time in this session at the moment. He's just getting out on circuit and putting pedal to the metal and putting rubber to asphalt at the moment. George Edgar returning as well there in 10th place. Good to see George rejoining us. Simeon Stone rejoining us as well. Simeon was on the podium last time out at round number 3, so he'll be hoping to replicate that here at round number 4. And I want to say that was the first time that we saw Simeon this season. Yes, it was. So first time out for Simeon at round number 3 at PFI, immediately bags a podium spot. So definitely one to watch there, Simeon Stone. Tantro Banda as well there in 5th place. Now, Tantro 7th place in the championship going into this one. Whereabouts has Tantro finished previously in the season? I don't think he joined us for round number 1. It was a P5 at round number 2 and then a P6 at round number 3 for Tantro. So I think probably his goal for this one, back in the top 5 yet again, maybe a cheeky podium if things all go right for Tantro. But again, great to see him out on circuit. Ellis McKenzie joining us here for round number 4. Ellis got a P7 back at round number 3 at PFI. And then, was Ellis with us for any previous rounds? I'm not so sure he was, you know. No, not there for round number 2. And not there for round number 1. So again, it's great to see throughout the season, drivers are noticing, oh, this KartSim Esports stuff is pretty cool. I think I kind of want to get involved. And we've seen, as we've gone through the season, more and more drivers joining the fray, getting involved, and scrapping it out there on the virtual black stuff. Now, Jensen Houghton, that is definitely a new name joining us here for round number 4. There's also Leon Metcalf. I don't think we've seen Leon out there before today. And Jack Corster as well. Jack was with us, of course. Sorry, I already mentioned Jack. He was in P9 last time out. A good few returning names, a good few new names as well. Here is Leon Metcalf as he heads around sector number 3. Personal best sector 1, but lost a good half a second in sector 2. Unlikely to be a new personal best this time from Leon. And indeed, he stays in 9th place. A slightly slow sector number 3 as well. Time to beat still, courtesy of Warwick Milam, down into the 44s. A 44.697 currently that time set by Warwick Milam. But as we say, these times not really meaning too much, just gives us a general idea of what that running order is going to be as we head through into competitive sessions in only a few moments' time. Let's see how we go then. So far this season, 2 wins for Teddy Cooper and 1 for Zane Quecker. So really, our cadet class and our senior class sort of mirroring each other a little bit. Of course, we went into that final round with 2 round victories for Joshua Bailey and 1 for Alex Iksicki. Joshua made it 3 out of 4 and took the championship in 2025 in the cadet class. Coming into this one, it's 2 for Teddy Cooper and 1 for Zane Quecker. Will Zane Quecker make it another under his belt? Will Teddy Cooper mirror Joshua Bailey and make it 3 out of 4 as he finishes off the championship in style? Or will we finally see Warwick Milam not get a P4 and not even just be on the podium, bag himself a win at the final round? It's all very much still to play for. As I think that was that Warwick Milam facing the wrong way there into the final couple of corners? Yes, it was. So even though it is still just practice at the moment, he's very much working out the limitations of grip out there on the virtual black stuff, working out where he can push it and where he can't. Because of course it's these practice sessions where you've got to be making those mistakes. That's where you can find the limit of grip, the limit of adhesion out there, and where you can push it a little bit more and where maybe you just need to reel it back ever so slightly as we get into proper official qualifying. And that's only going to be in about 20 seconds time, ladies and gentlemen. We run down towards 0 on the timer, and soon enough the checkered flag will be going out on the gantry. And the drivers will head back into pit lane and get ready for 10 minutes of qualifying. Timer ticks down to 0 then, ladies and gentlemen. The last practice session of the season here in the KartSim British Esports Championship. And Jace Vout decides to finish it off by sticking it straight in the wall there into the boot. Jensen Cook and Zane Quecker come up to the line and finish their session. Quecker puts himself within 1/10 of a second of Warwick Milam's time, but still not able to dethrone Warwick from the top of the timing screens through this practice session. We watch Caden Keith and Joshua Begenmate head through the last couple of corners as they head through to end their last laps of the session. But here is what I believe will be your final running order once practice is said and done. We'll just keep an eye as the last few drivers come across the line. I don't want to read out this order and then suddenly it all changes. As there you go, a few drivers do gain a bit of time there through the last couple of corners, and now we see drivers heading back to pit lane there. Warwick Milam, your fastest in practice. Zane Quecker only just behind him, less than 1/10 of a second between those two. Teddy Cooper, championship leader, there in 3rd place. still where he needs to be there in third. Tancho Banda in fourth, followed by Ellis McKenzie, Benjamin Hamilton, Joshua Begembe, Simeon Stone, Jack Corser and Josh Melling. Your top 10 then in seniors in practice. They were followed by George Fountain, Leon Metcalf, Oscar Makovic, then George Edgar, Kaelan Keith, Chris Whiteside, Ethan Windsor, Jago Reed-Hardy, James Rout and Jensen Houghton there. Your top 20. And then the last couple of drivers involved in the session to finalise the order. Well, the last one driver, Jensen Cook there in 21st place. Well, practice comes to an end then. Drivers all wait at the end of the pit lane, waiting for that green light to show at the end of pits. And as soon as it hits 10 minutes, there you go. It goes green and they flood out of the pits and onto the circuit for qualifying. This will set the grid for the race. And as we saw in the cadets, this qualifying session really does mean a lot. We saw your two championship protagonists of Joshua Bailey and Alex Zagzicki getting onto the front row. And that just meant that when the chaos ensued behind them at both Christmas Corner and down at Ashby, they were well clear of it. They didn't even get involved, and that allowed them in the first couple of laps to build up nearly a 10-second gap to fourth place and beyond. And that just keeps them out of trouble. That just means they can breathe a sigh of relief throughout the race. So the further up the grid, the more likely you're going to be out of all the squabbles and the troubles on those first couple of laps. It just means you can be a little bit more relaxed throughout the rest of the race. That's exactly what Teddy Cooper is going to be hoping he does through the rest of this qualifying session. If he can get himself up to the sharp end, he can just take a little bit of that pressure off. But even then, he's got to keep it on the black stuff and keep himself out of harm's way through the first few corners when we do get into racing action. But here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. Only a few more minutes left and then a few more laps of racing until we bring the KartSim British Esports Championship to a close for 2025. What a season it's been. It's been brilliant to be joining you on the microphone for the entirety of the season. As I mentioned earlier, it's only gone from strength to strength. Loads more drivers joining the fray, and I hope all getting out of the simulators with a big smile on their face and very much enjoying themselves and enjoying a bit of virtual racing action in the midweek between their real life on track action. Well, straight out of the blocks then, Warwick Milam already up to the sharp end, popping in a 44.921. Teddy Cooper less than a tenth behind him. Tancho Banner in third. Much better from Benjamin Hamilton there in fourth place at the moment. Of course, struggled ever so slightly in that practice, was there and thereabouts, but just needs to gain himself a few more places if he does want to challenge Warwick Milam for that second place in the championship. Like we said earlier, only 3 points separating those two here. So if they are battling up at the sharp end, like I was mentioning earlier, we've got 75 points for the winner, 72 for second, 69 for third. So if we just think about something for a moment, 3 points separating them in the championship. There's 3 points between those two positions. So if they're first and second, if they're second and third, if they're third and fourth, there's 3 points between all those positions. That'll mean that they end up finishing on identical points at the end of the championship. And that, of course, will then be decided. I'll need to go back to the rules to 100% check how that will be decided at the end of the season. I imagine it's usually the most number of best results. That's usually how championships do it, but don't count me on that one because I need to go back and look at the rules specifically to work that one out. But either way, the guys and girls behind the scenes here at KartSim will get that all sorted and make sure everything is done to the rule book, to make sure everything is fair and the deserving driver is handed second place if that does occur. But it will make it a lot more easy for them if they don't end up finishing one position different at the sharp end of the order. At the moment, like we say, Warwick Milam sets the pace. He was beaten by Zane Quecker for a moment, but immediately he steals the fastest lap back. But at the moment, they're both in the pit lane. Zane Quecker pulls back out and leaves the pits now. Heads back out to do a few more qualifying laps. I do believe their reasoning for doing that is because when they go back to the pits, they get given brand new tyres. So if you do 1 or 2 hot laps on the tyres, and then you scupper a sector, you might as well just go back to the pits, stick some brand new tyres on, head back out onto the circuit, and have maybe a little bit more advantage as you bed the tyres in through that warm-up lap, and then go for it round your first flying lap once again. Here is Teddy Cooper, championship leader across the line, jumps up to third place. Good lap there from Teddy Cooper. Still just less than 0.2 of a second though off of Warwick Milam. Unable to quite beat his pace, and there you go. Perfectly shown there by Teddy Cooper. Puts in a good lap. Says, I'm done with those tyres. I'll have a new set. Thank you very much, KartSim Simulation software. He heads back to the pits and now heads straight back out to do it all again. Simeon Stone. Good to see Simeon back once again, as we mentioned. Simeon with a great performance last time out. First time in the KartSim British Esports Championship. First time out, backs himself a podium straight out the blocks. Fair play to Simeon, showing some great outright pace. At the moment, down on the fourth row of the grid, just over half a second off of your fastest lap so far in this session. Just struggling to get down into the 44s at the moment are a few of our drivers. You can see there is a bit of a gap between 5th and 6th place. Mackenzie there in 5th, Melling in 6th place. And there's a good couple of tenths of a second, just over a couple of tenths between those two. Alice Mackenzie and Josh Melling there, bridging that gap of a few tenths. So I think it is, if my math serves me correctly, yeah, just about the top 5 all down in the 44s. So it's a 44.972. Yeah, quick maths. Quick maths there. Just about keeping it in the 44s there is Alice Mackenzie. And Tacho Banda now returns to the pits to stick a fresh set of tyres on. But again, just like we saw in the Cadets, it's all about working yourself out on the circuit as well. I think mainly the goal is really to find, especially on a track like this as Whilton Mill, trying to just find a bit of space out there on the black stuff and be able to put a full lap together without anyone holding you up, getting in your way, having an incident in front of you. As there we see, is that a new faster lap? I do think that was a new personal best there from Warwick Milam. Down into the 44.6s now, 44.623 for Warwick Milam. Gaps by over a tenth and a half now back to Zane Quecker. Which, to be honest, with his performances at the end of last year, when we were just dipping our toes into official KartSim Esports, Zane was just dominating in the senior class. No one could touch him. He would just drive away with the races and no one would get close. Well, he certainly met his match here with the likes of Warwick Milam and Teddy Cooper. These drivers really, really making him work for it. And that time again, 3 yellow sectors for Zane Quecker. Can't find any more time, and he is chasing down Tancho Banda as they head up the straight into Christmas Corner once more. Less than 3 minutes left to go on the clock now, ladies and gentlemen. We are ticking down towards the end of this qualifying session. But the words on everyone's mind, the question everyone's thinking about, who is going to get pole position here in the senior class at the final round of the 2025 KartSim British Esports Championship. Zane Quecker's clearly had a good lap. He's had a good middle sector, but he's been held up ever so slightly there into sector number 3 by Tancho Banda. Will that destroy his lap there as Leon Metcalf there sat on the outside of the corner? Quecker comes across the line, and yes indeed, has lost it in the final sector. Loses almost 0.4 of a second. Has to go back to the pits once more. We just saw there Warwick Milam heading back out onto the circuit once again. Here is George Fountain. We watch now heading through. Good session so far from George Fountain. Again, George just about within the 44-second marker. So now the top 6 all down into the 44s. He's got about a tenth to find though if he wants to get ahead of Alex Mackenzie on the grid. That'll still leave him on row number 3, but put him on that inside line. Now I thought maybe that wouldn't matter too much going to the race start, considering you're side by side and you do go through a left, but then straight into the right-hander of Crook as George Fountain finds the wall there on the outside of Crook. A little bit too much speed on the entry there in the senior karts. But in the race start in the Cadets, it was clearly shown by Alex Zicki on pole position that pole position side of the grid does make a difference. He was able to get the start. He was able to close the door through Oblivion and into Crook. And he did hold on to the lead through the first lap. Of course, sadly, on the last lap, it didn't quite stay that way. And Joshua Bailey stole the win at the final round and claimed the championship. Let's see how this one continues on then. We're closing in to the final minutes of qualifying here in the senior class to finalise the season. Who is going to take pole position? Will it be Warwick Milam? Will it be Zane Quecker? Will it be Teddy Cooper? Will it be an outside shot from one of the other drivers? Will they suddenly find some ridiculous pace here in the last lap or two? and fire their way up the grid. Ready for the race start later on. Good middle sector from Zane Quecker. What could he do in the final sector? It's slightly slower yet again. He still just can't quite find that time that Warwick Milam has got ahead of him. And now he's following third place man of Teddy Cooper. This is going to be their final laps of the session, ladies and gentlemen. Time is going to tick to 0 before they can come round onto the gantries to start a new one. So this is it. It's slightly slower in the first sector from Zane Quecker. And I do think he is catching Teddy Cooper as well, so I can only imagine Teddy Cooper's gone a bit slower as well. Has Warwick Milam wrapped this one up here and taken pole position as well? A bit of contact there into the final sector between these two, Cooper and Quecker. Quecker continues on. He's had a decent middle sector, but he needs to have a blinding sector 3 here to jump his way up. Across the line he goes, stays in second place, loses 6/10 there through the final sector. Lap had to be given up there by Teddy Cooper. They're going wide into the final sector, and that looks like it's going to be it. Personal best here being set by Benjamin Hamilton, but at the moment he's down in 13th place. Third place in the championship. This qualifying session has not gone his way so far. What can he do here on the final lap? Benjamin Hamilton gets up to 7th place on the final time of asking. And just about by 1,000th of a second. Oh no, it's not quite. It's 0.011. He's got there into the 44s, but still a good final lap there from Benjamin Hamilton, just sadly on the wrong side of that little squabble. So then, Warwick Milam takes pole position for the final round here in the senior class, with Zane Quecker alongside him on the front row. Teddy Cooper there on row number 2, alongside Tancho Banda, with Ellis McKenzie and George Fountain on row number 3. Benjamin Hamilton and Leon Metcalf are on row 4, with Simeon Stone and Josh Melling rounding out the top 10 there on row number 5. Teddy Cooper, your championship leader there on third place. He's got to be careful on these first couple of laps there. He might get swallowed into the back. Let's wait and see. Ken Keith and Joshua Begemme line up on row 6, with Oscar Makovic and Jago Reed-Hardy on row 7. Jack Corser and Chris Whiteside are on row number 8, with Ethan Windsor and Jensen Houghton there on row 9. George Edgar and James Fout round out the top 20 there on row number 10. And Jensen Cook finalises the grid there on P21. Well, there we go then. That is your qualifying result from the senior class in the last round of the season. We wait for them all to jump onto the starting grid. And then, of course, we'll be going once again for 12 laps of racing. Let us know in the live chat who you are supporting out there on the virtual black stuff in today's race. Are you part of the Teddy Cooper fan club, the Warwick Milam fan club, the Zane Quecker fan club, or any of the other fan clubs of the drivers out there on circuit? Please do let me know in the live chat so I can give you a little shout out and say hello. And thank you all for joining us. The viewers have jumped up for this senior final, last round of the season. Let's see how this one goes. Teddy Cooper's... okay, cool. I got a little bit nervous there. Teddy Cooper was still in the pits, but he has joined us on the start-finish straight. And now we wait for those engine notes to rise, just as those nerves begin to rise as well. I think particularly for 3 of those drivers on the front couple of rows of the grid. This is going to decide the championship, ladies and gentlemen. And like we say, Teddy Cooper, Warwick Milam, Benjamin Hamilton, James Fout and Zane Quecker all still in with mathematical chance of the championship here. But realistically, similarly to Joshua Bailey, if Teddy Cooper can just keep his nose clean in this one and bring home a decent result, he should wrap this one up as he goes into it with a 21-point advantage. Race Cave Racing says go, Tancho. Jake Anders says up the Benji Hamilton. Rory Hamilton says come on Benji. And Nicky Quecker says supporting my son Zane. Let's race. Yes, let's get going. Zane has been a formidable force here on the KartSim simulation software. Let's see what he can do lining up alongside your pole sitter Warwick Milam. Warwick has the curse of the P4 throughout this season. Well, he's starting this one in P1. Surely this has got to be the day that Warwick at least bags himself a podium. But I'm sure he'd be so happy to end the season with a victory. But he's going to have to fight for it, isn't he? 12 laps of racing is ahead of us. And the drivers wait with bated breath and watch those lights. And soon they'll be putting pedal to the metal and going racing here round Whilton Mill. like I say, for 12 laps. Here we go then. Lights are out. We're racing. It's a great start for Zane Quecker. He moves across to take that outside line. And Zane Quecker takes the lead of the race early on. It's all argy-bargy for the first couple of corners. And a few drivers find the wall on the outside there of Crook. Up into Christmas corner we go. And how's it all? 2 leaders are off. Warwick Milam and Zane Quecker are off. Teddy Cooper sides on through. We've got one driver driving to the grass. That was Ian Metcalf. And another driver fired out wide there on the exit as they head down into Ashby. Another couple of drivers flirting with the exit as they do go into Ashby. It's all been a bit chaotic on the first lap, just like we saw in the cadet class. But the 3 we wanted to watch are at the front, and your championship leader, Teddy Cooper, gets to the front of the field on lap number 1. It couldn't have gone better on that first lap around the circuit than that for Teddy Cooper. He leads as we head on to lap number 2, but he has got Warwick Milam and Zane Quecker right there with him in his virtual mirrors. He's just got to get his head down now and press on. You know what they say, pressure makes diamonds, and let's see if Teddy Cooper can shine here at Whilton Mill through the rest of this race. Warwick Milam and Zane Quecker absolutely nipping at his heels though. Metcalf and Hamilton still there in 4th and 5th place. It's been a good start it's been a great start for Benjamin Hamilton then, siding his way through up into P5, kept himself relatively out of that trouble on the first lap. A good start for Hamilton, and that's exactly what he needed for the championship. But of course, the driver that he is 3 points behind still currently sat there in 2nd place, so it's still at the moment going to stay as it is in the championship, with Cooper leading Milam, leading Hamilton. Let's see how we continue on then. On to lap number 3 already. Hamilton's wide in the background. Hamilton flirting with the grass there. He's got just about a good enough exit though to hold on to P4, stays ahead of Metcalf in 5th place. And it's really not too far back there to Jago Reed-Hardy. Then followed by Caelan Keith, George Edgar, Tancho Banda and George Fountain rounding out your top 10. So it was a less than ideal first couple of laps for Tancho Banda. Started up on the 2nd row. Really good qualifying from Tancho, but getting involved in those incidents on lap number 1 has just dropped him further down the top 10. Still there in 9th place and still very much within the thick of the squabbles. On to lap 4 we go then. And who's that going across the grass? Ethan Windsor there taking the scenic route through sector number 2. And yellow flags out. They go straight back in as he rejoins the black stuff. Teddy Cooper still leads us on round though up through Christmas corner. And we keep our eyes firmly locked on this battle. Of course, Warwick Milam, like we say, he's looking to wrap up 2nd in the championship, but also he wants to end the championship with a bang. Best result of a P4 in all 3 rounds. Sat there in P2 at the moment, but he's so close. He can smell the victory. He's within touching distance of it, and I know he's going to do everything he can to grab that away from Teddy Cooper. But oh, it could be spicy if things go wrong in that battle. My goodness, Teddy Cooper hits the wall. He hits the wall on the outside of the final corner. That's going to slow him down all the way through these first couple of corners. Can Milam get the exit? He's got the run. Up towards Christmas corner they go. Will he go for that inside line? Doesn't feel he's quite close enough and stays in the wheel tracks for now anyway. But already these two starting to drop Zane Quecker. Is this the move this time into Ashby? No. Milam waits for it yet again. But that gap just forming now, about 2 or 3 kart lengths back to Zane Quecker. He just can't quite keep within arm's reach of these top 2. But all it needs is even one failed attempt at a move for Warwick Milam, and Zane will be straight back with them once more. Into the boot we go for the 5th time in this race, and top 3 still as they were. Tancho Banda's gained a place on this last lap. He's got through on George Fountain. They swap around in 8th and 9th. Jago Reed-Hardy there in 10th place now. And George Edgar, I think he's had a good last lap or 2. They're in 7th place. Having a good race so far then is George Edgar. Again, George has been going from strength to strength, plugging their way at it throughout this season. And it's been really great to see how much he's improved throughout the season. Of course, George, very accomplished and experienced racer in real life. And we do look back to that battle. Here they are then. Caelan Keith, George Edgar, Tancho Banda and George Fountain all battling over, well, sort of 6th place, but not really, because Caelan Keith has gapped them ever so slightly, but it's nose to tail between George Edgar and Tancho Banda here. Banda's already got 8th place. Now he's looking for 7th. through the boot they go. It's going to be a difficult one to use that good exit there, Tancho, and again has to sit in behind as they head through the last couple of corners and gets quite a poor exit really, and that's going to put George Fountain now right back on to his rear bumper as this squabble for 7th continues. Really exciting in the mid-pack here as Jago Reed-Hardy goes wide there out of the first couple of corners. He holds the slide beautifully as there's a move and nearly an incident between Banda and Fountain. Aggressive with George Fountain to take that inside line. I was a bit worried that tyre block on the inside there might just stop Tancho in his tracks, but I think he managed to avoid it. Carries on, rejoins the race, but loses the position again to George Fountain. So as quickly as he gained it, he loses it once again. Back down to 9th place goes Tancho Banda, and Jago Reed-Hardy, after that off-track excursion there out of Crook, stays in 10th place. Very well done to Jago Reed-Hardy for holding that slide and getting it back onto the black stuff. But now he falls into the clutches of a few different drivers behind him, now all battling for that last spot in the top 10. That's with Joshua Bagembe and Josh Melling. Well, here we look back to our leading battle once more. They're still as they were, but Warwick Milam's all over the back of Teddy Cooper. He's going to go for it, lay down the inside. They make contact. Nearly off the road goes Teddy Cooper. And here comes Zane Quecker. He's got the run to the outside as they head into the boot. Can he make use of it, though? Up the inside of Milam, and contact. Teddy Cooper goes off. He so nearly flips. Thank goodness they all get back down onto all 4 wheels. But it's Zane Quecker into the lead of this race, ladies and gentlemen. We said it only took one little battle between these two for Zane to get back involved. Well, that was a little bit more than a little battle, wasn't it there? Contact between Milam and Cooper. Both of them go wide, and Zane Quecker says, cheers guys, thanks very much, really appreciate it. I'll just take that lead away from you, don't mind if I do. 3 laps left to go after this one, ladies and gentlemen, and now Zane Quecker is leading the way. It's not going to be enough to do much in the championship for Zane, but it's the bragging rights of not meaning it would be 3 wins for Teddy and 1 for Zane. If it stays like this, it'll be 2 apiece at the end of the season. But this 3rd place for Teddy Cooper is still enough for him to wrap up the championship, but he finds the wall again out of the final corner. Teddy, take a deep breath. It's all okay. You're still in with the championship here in 3rd place. Of course, we always want to end a championship with a victory, but a 3rd place, still a very good result for Teddy, and like I say, points being prizes, it'll be enough for him to grab that top prize for the end of the championship season. We look back to a few of those battles. We mentioned that battle for 10th earlier on. Jago Reed-Hardy now up into 9th, so I think we must have lost someone from this top 10 then, as it's all shuffled around. Reed-Hardy now in 9th, Bagembe getting involved. Bagembe's got the good exit, but he's on the outside line as we head here through the left-hander. What's happened to Tancho Banda? Tancho Banda's off in the wall. Tancho Banda was battling with George Fountain, and Banda is off the road. He drops down the order and out of the top 10. This battle now becomes a battle for 8th place, and it was won by Bagembe. Bagembe's up to 8th, Reed-Hardy in 9th, Melling in 12th. Your battle for the lead is kicking off though. Whoa! Big hip check there to Warwick Milam. He gets fired off the racing line. Off onto the grass he goes, and 2nd place is regained by Teddy Cooper. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure how I see that one. Milam had that outside line. Quecker moved all the way back over to the left. I think maybe not realising quite the overlap that Warwick Milam had there. And just that side pod to side pod contact sent Milam wide. But he's done a great job to not lose too much time there, and stays in with a shout then as we head round the final corner. On to the final lap of the season here in KartSim British Esports. Zane Quecker will lead us onto it ahead of Teddy Cooper and Warwick Milam, but this is enough for Teddy Cooper to seal the win in the championship. He'll be wanting to end this on a victory, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. There's a good few kart legs between himself and Zane Quecker at the moment as we head down through into Ashby for the final time. Will there be any last lap dive from these top 3? We'll wait and see. I hope not, though. I don't think my heart can take it. Through they go through sector number 2. Down into the boot once more. It will be the final time of asking for our top 3. And like I said, I just don't think they're quite close enough. Cooper and Milam very close. Round the final corner comes Zane Quecker. He'll win the final round. But the championship goes to Teddy Cooper. Teddy Cooper wins in the senior class. And Teddy Cooper is your champion in seniors in the 2025 KartSim British Esports Championship in partnership with Motorsport UK Esports. A great win though for Zane Quecker, but again Maybe a couple of touchy moves happening there between our top three that the stewards will need to look at after the race. I'm sure there'll be plenty of chatter going on in the Discord after this one. But either way, we were treated to a fantastic race there in seniors as more drivers battle on through to the line and come to the checkered flag. Well, there we go then. Zane Quecker is victorious in the final round of the championship here at Whilton Mill. But second place on the podium gives Teddy Cooper the championship. Well done to Teddy. He takes it there from second place. And Warwick Milam does it. He hasn't finished in fourth place. He's finished one better in third. Well done, Warwick. He finally gets the podium he deserves there at the final time of asking. Benjamin Hamilton, great race from him after a really challenging qualifying to finish up in fourth. Followed by Leon Metcalf, a good race from him as well. Then George Fountain, Caden Keith, Joshua McGenbay, Jago Reed Hardy and Josh Melling. That was your top 10 there in the seniors. They were followed by 11th place with Jensen Holton, then Tancho Banda, James Vout, Simeon Stone, Ellis McKenzie, Jack Corser, Chris Whiteside, Oscar Makovich, Ethan Windsor and George Edgar. Sadly a DNF in that one for George. And I think we did have 21. Yes, Jensen Cook there. Again, a DNF for Jensen to finalise the season. But there we go. What amazing racing action we were treated to this evening. Absolutely fantastic, and it's going crazy in the chat saying well done to Zane, amazing job, what brilliant racing we were treated to there. Make sure you drop a like on the stream if you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to the KartSim YouTube channel to not miss any future KartSim Esports. But that's us done for 2025. What a season it's been in the KartSim British Esports Championship in partnership with Motorsport UK Esports. It's been an honour to commentate throughout this year's racing on the virtual black stuff, and hopefully it's not too long till we'll see you out again. Of course, don't forget, if you want to get involved, if you like the look of that, keep an eye out on the KartSim socials for future announcements. But that's it for 2025. My name has been John Ratcliffe. It's been a pleasure to join you for every single round this season. And like I say, I hope it's not too long until I see you again here on the KartSim YouTube channel. But for now, I say goodbye.